Thank you so much, Anthony. Definitely be keeping an eye on that situation, especially as goods are slowly getting better with the rise in manufacturing. Our next segment is going to be one of our features, Truck Talk, with Mr. Alan Adler, and we're going to look at and dive deep into this Cummins purchase of the acquisition of Meritor this week of $3.7 billion. It looks like a big deal. Alan, you did some reporting on this. What should we need to know about this acquisition?
Well, I'm sorry, we don't know each other, do we? Who am I looking at?
I missed two meetings and then you forget about me. This is what I get for missing editorial meetings.
It could be. All right. Let's talk a little bit deeper about the Cummins purchase of Meritor. It really is. We said it was a big deal. It is a big deal. Not the biggest deal that's ever occurred, but certainly in that group. A little bit of unpacking this week that we're able to figure out. We talked with Amy Davis, who's the president of the New Power segment at Cummins the other day. And, apart from saying winners in a transaction like this, her group, her segment, which is the newest segment, business segment at Cummins, really is the big winner in that it gets the electronic axles business from Meritor. And what this ultimately means for them, for New Power, is some serious opportunity to build revenue. Meritor told analysts a while back that they thought the traction system business was worth about $1.5 billion by 2030 in revenue. Cummins buys that. They think that's a good, credible estimate. But overall, New Power now looks like, according to what they told analysts during Analyst Day this week, that it should generate $6 billion to $13 billion in sales by the end of the decade. So New Power, which does not yet have a positive EBITDA or anything like that, is definitely on the move. This is the area where Cummins, we wrote this a few weeks back in terms of sort of the 103-year-old company with a startup inside. And, New Power really is where all of the electrification and fuel cells and hydrogen and things like that are resting and probably will become the way Cummins is known over the next decade or so, more than for the diesel engines, which it's still dominant in.
I think you've raised two really great points. Especially Cummins is known for their engines, the drivetrains for these trucks. And then they buy Meritor, which produces, axles and other components, especially with electrification. I noted that with Hyliion, another company that is making electric and hydrogen vehicles, they use some of the technology from Meritor. Do you think this is something that may pose an issue, or how would this play into it, now having to compete with Cummins, who just bought your supplier, basically?
Right. Well, and it's excellent. We've been sort of speculating about what not just the Meritor purchase, but what would become of Hyliion. They certainly this week when they reported their earnings, just yesterday morning, they're not making money yet, of course, but for the first time they are booking a small amount of revenue from a product that, quite honestly, Cummins is probably going to cause them to get out of, which is this electric boost hybrid they have. This is an add-on essentially to a diesel or natural gas powered truck, and it provides some electric boost. But it's not enough, and as we move towards more and more pure electric trucks, that technology, and Hyliion's been warning this, is probably endangered. Certainly Cummins coming with a full 15-liter natural gas engine in 2024 will probably be the death of that particular product. Now, interestingly, one of the analysts asked Hyliion yesterday, what does this Meritor thing mean? Because, you're using the Meritor signature product right now is this 14xe electronic axle. And that's being used on the Hyliion Hypertruck ERX, which is the natural gas generator that makes electricity for the truck. And so Thomas Healy said, the CEO said, we talked to Cummins, there should be no interruption of supply or anything like that. But, some of the speculation, and I made it right on this show here on FreightWaves now, is that, Cummins could starve Hyliion, or it could be an acquirer. Although I would say, having talked to Amy Davis about this, and we used this in the story just yesterday, that she sees what Hyliion is doing as a transition technology, not something for the long term. Interestingly, where he used to talk down about fuel cells, Thomas Healy at Hyliion now says we're working on it. We're gonna, after we get past this generation of the ERX, we'll be both fuel agnostic and we'll have a fuel cell option. So the whole question becomes, is there enough reason to put that kind of money into a truck, that has two power systems, more things to go wrong, or do you just go straight to a battery electric truck? So that's really the question. But I would say right now, Hyliion, since you brought them up, they put the critics at bay for a short time yesterday when they said they've got 100 orders with deposits for the Hypertruck. This is what Twitter's been ablaze with: is come on, Thomas, give us something we can bet on. And of course, the stock went up a bunch yesterday. 58 cents. It's still a sub $5 stock, but it's something that people took a little bit of solace from.
I think that's a great point you just raised. When we mention transition, we have a lot of automakers, the engine's been around for 100 plus years. So it's kind of a situation where now we're getting this electric vehicle technology, this battery technology, but at the same time you have this natural gas development, and we're starting to see moves. So we know with Cummins making this acquisition, do you think that there is anyone else on the horizon it feels like to me that it's a blocking measure. I need to control all parts of this because these trucks are about to change into something and I want to get in on it. Is there anyone else in this space that we need to keep a close eye on that may be making some merger and acquisition moves or should keep an eye on with developments?
Well, I think the company that Amy Davis mentioned, and I would take her knowledge of the space more than my own. I've written about them, but Dana is a strong competitor in the sort of integrated electric vehicle space. They've done a lot of acquisitions they've put together. In fact, I dug out the story this morning for Truck Talk to link to it, and that was one about their integrated powertrain, electronic powertrain, and they've got some business wins. They've won some business in that space. So that was one company that Amy mentioned as being a direct strong competitor. Others are doing components, and Cummins honestly will do both fully integrated systems now, and they'll continue to sell components. They have a big components division, and so they can sell this traction system separately, or you can integrate it with other things. But it's definitely one of those moves. I mean, it's interesting because a company we don't cover, but is really big in the automotive space, Tenneco, actually was offered 100% above its stock price. Its share price this week by private equity, and probably will go that way and go private. But I think this is a time where you are seeing more and more of this kind of stuff, even though on the really big mergers, the Justice Department, and the SEC especially, are frowning more on combinations, but where they make sense, and Meritor and Cummins, just to circle back to that, makes a lot of sense because they have such dissimilar products, right? I mean, Meritor does axles, Cummins doesn't. Cummins does transmissions, Meritor really doesn't. So, there are a lot of things that make a lot of sense about this, and I think that, I can't tell you, who brought this idea up, but it came together very, very quickly, just a matter of months.
Final question, building on that, do you think that now with this purchase of Meritor, do you think it would make more sense if they're going to stay standalone, or do you think they're going to quickly get integrated within the company?
Well, I don't know how many of their products will continue to carry the Meritor name. I think the integration, I asked that question actually of Amy, and I said, will the Meritor brand or, Blue Horizon, continue to stick around? She said, hey, this is only day 2. I can't tell you that. But it's interesting. We talked to ZF, which has also done a lot in the merger space, including the $7 billion acquisition of Wabco Holdings, just closed in 2020. And, we talked to Julian Planchette, who is the head of North America, and asked him and said, hey, what do you make of this? And he said, it's not surprising they would do it. He said, we know quite a bit about the merger space. And, I think that the really big guys are pretty set for the moment. I mean, I don't know that Dana would be a target for anybody. They're $9 billion company, so not not huge, but certainly would be something of someone to gobble. We look at Borg Warner, you look at Eaton, some of these other companies. I just don't know them well enough to say, yeah, this makes sense. And certainly, we cover Cummins quite a bit, but I didn't see this one coming.
Came out of nowhere. Well, I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on this as the developments come, and definitely want to check out more of your reporting on it. Making some moves and making some waves in the sector for sure. Coming up, we're about to take a break. After the break, we're going to talk with Mr. Andrew Lockwood, Senior Manager Solutions Design at Sudeth Global Logistics, after this break.